Congratulations, Professor, for publishing your work in the International Journal for Advanced Science and Technology. I was going through it over the weekend. I was actually also browsing through some of your books. I see 3 of them here, and they have very interesting titles. Mood Analysis, Startup in India, Brand, Culture and Communication. So from these titles, how did you reach the topic of your current research?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for reading my books, the 3 of them. My 4th one is actually on the way on brands. Yeah. So basically, I'm doing research for last 1 decade, and this thought came to our mind sometimes back, me and my co-author. In fact, coming to the research part of it, the paper that you talked about, basically very, very interesting, understanding about this particular paper when we talked about the science of media and messages for health communication. So that paper is very interesting because while the world was thinking about creating vaccines and medicines and all of that, we thought we'll go the psychological way actually, because basically we'll help business to find their profits through relevant communication. That was basically one of the things that we were thinking about. So being healthy was always in people's mind. That's nothing new. So basically we thought that we could do some research and find out the most impactful way of communication through media, what kind of messages will there be, okay, so that when industry are getting back, it would be their revenue part without wasting money. That's what effective communication is all about, right? So through our research, we basically wanted to understand what sort of messages and media would probably influence the purchase decision of the millennial consumers. In other words, what is the stimulus that the corporate should give so that the response of the consumer for that stimulus is positive in terms of health care organizations. Okay, and this is very well applied across industries where mostly mostly in the FMCG sector it will be very, very helpful, right? Okay, we had got this particular model called health belief model, which actually suggests that human beings' perceived belief in their illness and the person's belief in the effectiveness of recommended health behaviors through communication will predict the likelihood of a person adopting such behavior. Okay, so what I perceive about my health and what kind of messages are there, which I also believe that it is true. If I believe it is more true, then it's more likely to adopt that particular behavior.
I mean, I must believe that I'll be benefited with it, and only then it will actually benefit me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that is what our whole premise of this particular research was.
I see this paper is co-author.
Correct.
I mean, a co-author requires to be compatible.
Correct.
And probably also have to have complementary attributes.
Correct.
So how do you? I mean, it's a little difficult to find. So how do you normally pick a research collaborator?
Okay. Basically, collaborators, you have to be, as a researcher, you have to not only do your own research, but you have to understand the ecosystem of every other research institute. So basically, I started off this paper with, when we started conceptualizing, my co-author Tanushika was a student of mine.
Oh.
So and then she became an alumnus, and then we kept in touch with each other, and she said that she was in Kantar, which is a reputed research organization, and she said that, so why don't we furnish the paper, and now COVID is coming up and this thing will happen, so health communication we'd always talked about, and this would be a very, very relevant topic. Why don't we take forward? And now she's a senior manager in Kantar. So I said that would be a fantastic way of collaborating. So network. So even in different other research papers, I do a lot of networking with other faculty members. I do networking with my ex-students who are now in good positions in the industry. Okay, so these kind of networks and relationship building keeps on happening, and when you have a comfort level with a student or you have a comfort level with faculty when you discuss with each other, then automatically those comfort zones develop, and as you rightly said, it is very, very important to create a comfort zone between the co-authors. So we decided what portion she will write, what portion I'll write, where she'll research, I'll research, and then we'll come out with a full paper. Yes, so that's how it is.
So she's from Kantar.
Correct.
So since she's from Kantar, could we call your paper industry academia collaboration?
Yes, of course. I mean, this is very important for research papers. On one part of this, if I can say, hemisphere, is the industry, and the other part is the academia. And if we can have a blending and an amalgamation of both of them, then automatically that creates a very good impetus for creating a research paper. So the industry comes with the facts, the practicalities, and the academic comes with theory, both blends together, and we start understanding how the academic theories can be built into the practicality of the industry, and the industry also sees how these theories can be applicable, because until and unless it is impactful, it is applicable, there's no point in doing research. So that is where we want to impact the society, we want to impact the consumers, and the company should also benefit from these researches. How the company's profitability can happen without even the ROIs should be lesser. Okay, so return on investment should be more, the investment should be lesser. Okay, so those things are very, very important.
So can you briefly summarize some of the major findings of your research?
True. So the findings would be comprising of basically two major themes that are there, which comprises of the two parts, which is messages, and the other one is media. Okay?
Message and media.
Media, right. So basically, when we are talking about these major themes, we are talking about some kinds of messages, okay, which we are saying, say for example, a overt message, a message which is already there. Okay. Second, we are basically talking about, say, somebody who is imitating. That is a message from the other person. So you are doing something healthy and I am imitating you. Okay. The reference groups which are there, inmates, people with whom they stay with, or for example, media. When we talk about media, we are talking about two different forms. One is an online media, okay, digital media. So from there, it's very effective in today's world, okay. And obviously the offline media, which is there, okay, which probably suggests that the television, not only television, but the banners, the kind of packaging that is there, okay, everything culminates together for making this particular media. Okay, so I would request everyone to go through this particular paper and get in more details in terms of how these particular things happen in the industry. Through this particular research, you'll understand what sort of a way, what sort of mix can companies use for getting through. Okay, so I think these are major findings, that what sort of messages would be very appropriate and effective and impactful. What through those messages, through what media would be impactful for the audience. Okay, so that is where the combination of media and messages needs to be there. That's the research findings that we have got.
So if I may ask you this, research is important for you, that's for sure.
Correct.
I'm also sure that teaching is also important for you.
Correct.
So how do you take your research into the classroom?
See, that's very important. I mean, when we are doing this particular research, we have also kept in mind that if I take it today in the classroom, or if one of my fellow faculty can take it to the classroom, that will be very, very helpful and handy. So we thought that it's an interesting, some interesting topics like, say, integrated marketing communications. Some topics like product development, maybe related to health. Some topics like, marketing strategies. Okay, so these are the areas in which this particular research will be very, very helpful to undertake. Okay, so we can take these particular topics in the class. Me or my fellow faculty can take. We can have a discussion. We can look at what other brands are doing in terms of this, and accordingly we can come up to a particular solution. So I think this paper will be helpful for at least 3 or 4 topics to be taken in the class.
So in the class and at the ground level, what would be the ground level implications of the findings?
See, there are basically 3 very broad macro level ground implications. There are some companies who are already doing it. Okay, there are some companies who are already doing it, but through this research they can actually furnish it, okay, better, focus it, so that the right kind of mix can happen over there. Okay, so that is one level. The second level is for those companies who are not doing it. They need to undergo a particular research, find out the consumer's media consumption pattern, and accordingly see what kind of a right mix of media and message, come back to our paper and see what kind of right mix of media and messages can be there, so that they can create an effective marketing communication strategy around their brands. So that's the second. And the third one is academicians. We have talked about the health belief model. Okay, they can look into this health belief model, look at our paper and try to situate this in different brands, different industries, and try to find out how it can be very helpful and theorize, in terms of this particular model. So that also for academicians will be very, very helpful.
In your paper, you have said that those companies that are already into marketing on health lines would have a great advantage in the post-pandemic times.
Correct.
I can easily understand that cold start is always more difficult.
Yeah.
Now, if I take an analogy and ask you my last question, that how can academic institutions build a warm ambience, if I may use the word warm, as against a cold start. So how can academic institutions build a warm ambience for research?
Okay, very interesting question. I mean, one of the things which I have learned over the years and also doing this particular research is that, any researcher needs to have that kind of confidence, that belief in oneself that I can do it. The research takes a long period of time, maybe 1 year, 2 years, or 6 months, or whatever it is, a period of time. Now, that confidence is important, that I can do it, I can finish the paper, I can publish it in a good reputed journal, okay, like the journal you mentioned, okay. So, this is very, very important, that confidence. So, institutions should have something like, say, a research cell, where from the research cell, the institution, like for example, in our organization, we have the Globsyn Research Cell, where the publication is one of the divisions. Okay, and then we are, from there, the institution is trying to motivate faculty to build in confidence, okay, so that faculty can publish. So that is one of the ways, very good ways of doing, motivating people. Second, of course, going through different good research papers, peer reviews. So for example, if I write a paper and you are nowhere involved in that particular paper, I can give it to you and say, sir, please can you read it?
Can you do a review of
review of that, and come back to a very
review,
informal review. Maybe you are not of that particular field also, but you would like to ask some 10 questions. Okay, and also hearing different research speakers speak about it. Develop a research culture in terms of, say, once a week maybe there will be a research talk or a research forum where all the faculty comes together. One of the faculty says, okay, this is the research that I'm going in, can you guys provide me a bit of
and probably that should be interdisciplinary. I mean, it's not that only the marketing guys will go into a marketing research talk.
Interdisciplinary, interfunctional in nature. Okay, so and more we are talking about collaboration not only in the Indian level or abroad. That networking, when I have talked to you about, so that networking has to be good. Okay, so it is a culmination of different things, of motivation, of discussions, of networking, that basically will help develop a research culture. And that is where my paper, when we in my other institutions also, I have done the same, and I hope that, and I'm very happy and thankful that Globsyn, our institution also has this kind of a culture, and I think if we can furnish through the Globsyn Research Cell publication, it can do wonders for the brand, for the industry, where we can have researchers like this which will impact the industry and the society at large.
Great. Professor, it was fantastic having this chat with you. Actually, just yesterday, I was reading a news item. It was not an opinion or editorial. It was a news item in the Times of India, which talked about FMCG companies in the food and beverages segment. Actually, what are they doing to ramp up their health portfolio? I'm sure they would be also benefited by the type of research that you have recently published, and I hope they take note of it.
Correct, and it's a very interesting, yes, and it's a very interesting understanding, even for, as you rightly mentioned about how there can be an environment of research. For example, even, faculty development programs of this sort. Like, for example, I was a part of Harvard, Business School online program where I learned business analytics. Okay, now in my future researches, I can use apply that particular part as well, and that is what the institute has given me. okay, that opportunity to grow as a researcher, okay, to associate myself with different big brands, okay, so that I can get great databases, and that has not been done for me, that has been done for different faculty as well. I think that makes it even more relevant. Yeah.
So let's hope we all thrive in a culture of research that Globsyn Business School builds. It was great having you in this chat. Thank you so much, Professor.
Okay.
We look forward to more things coming out of your stable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome.